I'd like to call it to order, and just a note to please silence your phones, and for those online, your microphones will be muted by default until recognized by the chair. This is a result of some bad actors in prior meetings and is an attempt to prevent that from reoccurring. With that, we'll move on to agenda additions or changes to the agenda from staff.
One requested addition from staff. I have some legal matters to update you on. So I would ask that you add an item 6E and 8B to discuss pending or probable civil litigation.
Okay, you want a motion for that?
Yes, please, unless there's anything else.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Easton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion's approved. And any changes from the board? Okay, so now we need a motion to approve the agenda as it has been amended.
So moved.
So moved by Easton. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Kaner. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Okay, moving on to our next is public to be heard. For the public to be heard, a couple items. Please be civil. Please be brief. As a general rule, any comments longer than a few minutes represent a need to have a deeper conversation, either via email, meeting, or being added to a future agenda. Please keep this in mind. Again, a friendly reminder to keep your cell phone silenced. Please refrain from side conversations. Please be respectful of staff and those speaking. And when called on by the chair, please state your name and residence for the record. For those folks online, you are muted, but you can use the little hand icon to let them know when you want to be called on. So with that, is there any public comment in the room? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sue Getty. I live on Basha Drive. Hello again. It's been a minute since I've come here to torment you. I'm pretty sure you're probably aware of what happened on Wednesday in South Burlington. I have come here in the past and asked of you as a government body to take action to protect the citizens and residents of Essex. And I am here because once I want to check in on if you had put any more thought and or action into protecting data and ensuring that the police will not assist ICE like they very much did in South Burlington and brutalize people, the South Burlington police. And so I'm here to just bring that up again, make sure that you're all aware that the police seems to be very happy and ready to go and tell ICE that they're on their side. And that when it does happen, because we're probably going to have a massive backlash by the federal government because the people of Vermont, of this area, your neighbors, said no, the fuck not, and I'm not going to apologize for my language, and stood their ground and protected their neighbors, protected the children, the baby that was in that home. So when that does happen here in Essex, I hope that you all will be ready to make space, not with other agenda items or whatever, to listen to the people of this town, to have to endure and survive the brutality of this state before you go and listen to the police. And I hope that you're aware that this is probably going to come and hit us really fucking hard. Because I think you've been paying attention to what's happening in Minneapolis and what's happening in Portland and what's happening in the towns where people have said no. And I just want you to be aware of that. Thank you. And yes, I would like a follow-up about if you ever did anything about protecting data from schools and any medical records from the state. And whatever any other thing that I asked that you did, I would love a follow-up. Have a good night.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
Hello. My name is Brian Clifford, and I live on Tanglewood Drive. And I also have a comment about ICE enforcement operations. I'm part of a rapid response group that responds to reports of ICE activity. To often it's just to see if it's legit, There's a lot of false reports going around, and it's good to kind of cut those out as soon as we can to eliminate panic. Sometimes we show up and there are ICE agents there, and every single time prior to Wednesday of last week, if anybody got there on the scene and started to film them and started to ask them what agency they're with and just kind of gently observe and try to pester them a little, they have tucked their tails between their legs and they have left. And I believe that they would have done that on Wednesday if they did not know that they were going to have the Vermont State Police Critical Action Team come and get them into the front door and then away from the scene safely. ICE did not have enough people at the scene to do that themselves. I didn't see them with any zip ties or handcuffs, or they didn't have like vans to put people they were going to arrest in. There were probably somewhere around between 20 and 30 ICE agents there, and there were hundreds of people. They simply could not have done that without Vermont State Police, Burlington Police, and South Burlington Police. And just like being there, and like you can kind of sense in that situation like who the tough people are, and it was not ICE. It was Vermont State Police and Burlington Police. They were the ones putting their hands on people and tossing them to the ground, getting them out of the way, and arresting them. ICE did almost none of that, but they did at the end deploy a bunch of crowd control measures like tear gas, and they were shooting pepper bullets or pepper spray, but also pepper balls with the little, they're like paintballs that explode and then burn your eyes. So they basically did all the dramatic stuff that you see in the videos without kind of doing the hard work that the local PD was doing. So I guess what I'm asking is for Essex Police to commit to just not going to the scene of ICE raids. I think that one less local police department being involved in the situation will be better. I don't think that local PD showed up to keep people safe. I've watched a lot of videos and I was there, and like they were just, they were helping ICE, and there's not really anybody who I've talked to who was there that like disagreed with that. So yeah, I mean, that's what it is. I think we need like some sort of public forum about what the police are going to do. And my opinion is that they should stay away and let people fend for themselves. Because I think that a dangerous precedent was set. As I said, like ICE was very likely to like turn their tails and run when confronted. And now that they know that they have the backs of like, the equivalent of the Vermont SWAT team, they're probably going to come back more often. So I hope that Essex can at least help us a little bit by taking a little bit more of the danger away. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, online.
First one is Sharon Eleni.
Sharon Eleni.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Sharon Elaney, and I live at 166 Brigham Hill Road. And I wanted to make sure that I could do some discussion about the dog incident, but do I wait till later for that?
I think I would be willing to take some latitude on comments before we get to the ordinance. Especially if you have comments that aren't directly related to the ordinance discussion, which will be taking place later on.
I see. Well, I guess the things that I have to talk about would be about, well, I don't know anything about the ordinance you're coming up with, so I don't really know whether I should just wait. Okay. Maybe for next time, it would be good if all the houses surrounding where a dog bite like that happens would be informed, just like you get a permit. When a permit goes out, everybody finds out so they can have something to do with it. And since then, I have found out that that dog was 150 pounds and also was larger than the weighed more than the owner, which I didn't really realize at the meeting. And then I've also found out that there were 3 other incidents with that dog running loose that interacted with 3 different sets of people. And I was wondering why that didn't get brought up during the meeting by the police, whether maybe people didn't write up reports and they just called them in. I'm not sure. But supposedly there was the dog pinned a baby carriage and a woman, and also menaced. Somebody opened their door and the dog was right out there, and then bicyclists were chased. So one of the suggestions I would have for the ordinance would be that the seriousness of that bite should have caused the animal control people to take that dog into a boarding situation until all the requirements were met. Now, I know that, there was no expectation that a family member was going to be ultimately attacked. So there wasn't anything you guys could do about that because, that didn't even come into play. But the 3 bites before that were the warning sign. And I fostered dogs before, and basically when you're fostering a dog, you're deciding whether you're going to kill the dog or not, and whether or not that dog is safe to put out into the public. This was a mastiff mix, so that's why it's like 150 pounds. But anyway, another thing that should maybe be in the ordinance is I've heard that that these people have another dog that neighbors have complained about, and there should be extra stipulations on a person that had this kind of situation happen to them, such as that their other dogs should get the canine good citizen certificate, or they should not be allowed to chain the dog outside. Chaining a dog outside is one of the worst things you could possibly do for a dog. It's in a very vulnerable position. And let's see. Here's okay. That's all I have to say, actually. But I did want to mention something about ice, and it would be really nice to have whatever plan for when we have elections that there's not going to be any kind of ice showing up or, causing people not to come to vote or whatever. So that's all I have to say, and I'll mute myself.
Thank you.
Can I just
Yeah, go ahead.
Sharon, this is Greg Duggan, Town Manager. Thank you for the comments, thoughtful comments. I just want to clarify one thing you said. The 3 other incidents that have happened at that property were not the same dog that the select board had the hearing about. Otherwise, I believe everything you said is accurate, but I just wanted to clarify that one point. Thank you.
Okay, so it was the beige dog?
Yes.
That's my understanding, yes.
I see. Okay.
But just for clarification, the beige dog is the one that is still there.
Still
The
there.
black dog is the one that
Right.
we've
Correct.
talked about.
Correct.
The black dog is the one that bit multiple people,
Yes.
but the beige dog has also bit more than one person, or challenged more than one person and bit another animal.
I'm aware of the beige dog having the 3 incidents with the baby carriage, the bicyclist, and something else, yes.
Because actually, I had an incident with the beige dog as well, because I got some mail in my mailbox and I was putting it into the right mailbox, which was right across the street from there, and that dog was chained outside. And if that dog was not on the chain, that dog was going to go after me. So chaining a dog is probably the worst thing you could possibly do for a dog.
Okay. Yes, sir. Do you have a comment? I'll go to the.
Yeah, initially, when Tilden, basically the 2 troublemakers started here.
Could we pause for a moment? I'm just having some technical difficulties. I'm sorry. Logan, is that you? That's not you.
Just
Sorry.
know that I am not touching the computer.
Right, no, only the host is only supposed to be allowed to share. Sorry, as the chair mentioned earlier, we've had some bad actors, so trying to get ahead of something before something pops
I did
up.
remove someone named Larry S., who was the one sharing their screen.
Thank you.
That seems to.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, thank you for your patience.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. Can you please state your name?
Yep. So I'm Tim Fayon. I live on Brigham Hill Road, also right near where the dog incident happened. But I'm saving those comments for during the business part of it. I just want to respond to the ICE activists and stuff that were just here, and anybody else who necessarily has alternative feelings than I do. And the fact of the matter is that they're doing their job as mandated, and it's been strewn across the news for so long that they were sick and tired of ICE just rolling into these areas and taking them over and doing what they got to do and being bullies, and that they were requesting for all these times to have local police take part might diffuse these situations and have this stuff happen. So unlike the gentleman that was just here, it's
Tim,
definitely different than the other.
Can you stop for a second?
Sorry.
We gotta shut down our meeting real quick, I think. Sorry, Tim.
I was on a roll.
I know. I'm sorry to cut you
we're
off,
just
but we
avoid-
have been getting attacked on Zoom for multiple meetings.
Yeah, we're gonna close the meeting,
meeting.
and if anybody is here with good intentions, please sign back on in a few minutes. I apologize.
Tim, we've had a few instances, if you're not aware, of Zoom bombs and stuff, so we're just trying to avoid that. It's where bad actors come in and take over the screen and
Yeah.
do some nasty stuff, so.
Not us.
We'll get back in a second.
The unfortunate part of technology is there's people
Progress.
who have to come in the backside of it and destroy all the good in it.
That's kind of why I'm here and not at home on Zoom also. It's like, this doesn't get messed up. I'm here to talk, let's have a chat. This stuff, yeah.
Where are you on Brigham Hill?
Backyard of the house in
Okay.
question.
So like 171 or?
I'm at 171, yeah.
Yeah. I'm at 308, something down the road.
Oh, are you?
Yep.
Very good. Yeah, it's,
I'm on the other hill road.
I know.
Good catch, Ethan.
I'm sorry, their chat was
No,
going
the chat was
insane.
blowing up.
So I was like, just get rid of
I
the
was
meeting for a
watching
minute.
Tim,
And,
not the-
I know.
Were your trees running like crazy today?
Start like crazy.
I emptied my 250-gallon tank twice. It's still going. That's why I was late. I was like, look at my watch. I was like, shoot.
I was feeling it. Didn't start until after midnight.
I know.
Like,
Well, it's also,
Keep
it's
running
not
it.
sunny. It's kind of windy. That doesn't make sense.
oh, this just goes to show you the value of the muting itself.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'd able to have another incident right there.
I'm amazed how they infiltrated like that. Can you shut off the chat?
Yeah, that's what we were just.
turning off on the whiteboard, briefly turning off.
Everything.
Want to get it
Yeah.
Didn't even know it.
Right. Right.
Thing.
There was a thing that was just being,
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
yeah, sorry, everybody.
I would have never expected a picture of Andy with Hodge.
That was interesting.
I would never think of that.
That's fair.
When I like pulled it up on my phone, like at first I was like, then I had to look. Yeah.
Looks like he's having a good time.
Oh, he's having a great time.
I didn't know if it was like one of those mirrors or it makes you look like you're small. Yeah. It was, remember like Pizza Putt
Oh, yeah.
back in the day? It would like shrink it or make it big.
Have you been to the new
Okay, can you make me
Pizza Putt golf place? It's not Pizza Putt anymore, but it's like golf simulators. And stuff.
Oh, they opened a place in there?
Yeah, the whole place is there.
Oh.
My buddy had told me about it. I drove past that and actually see the windows, and I was like, wow. I missed the national parks. And stuff.
When you unmute somebody, do you also have to allow them to turn their camera on?
We don't have that, but I just took away ability to share video, ability to share white screen, ability to share apps.
Right, but if somebody raises their hand and you call on them, they can kind of do whatever for a minute. It's unfortunate, but at least you could just boot them.
You can boot them then. You should be able to. Sometimes they have like malware that doesn't let you do it.
And there, I wrote down a couple of the names, so don't hit admit all.
Okay, okay.
Recording in progress.
I won't be able to send video to Zoom at all.
Oh, can I allow it for you to do that? You know what, Logan, you know, if I'm able to give you.
I don't know if you can do it individually or not.
Logan, you need the video to show up on Zoom if you're sharing video?
Well, it just, like, people on Zoom won't be able to see the meeting at all.
Yeah, if I make you a co-host, will that work?
I think so.
Yeah. No, I don't see any names on my.
Mary. M-E-R-Y.
Don't worry about that one.
Sus.
Everyone else all set?
All set?
Okay. Thank you for your patience. Apologies.
Okay, thank you. We are back. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, I'm not gonna start from the top, but where I wanted to go with it was that you see all over the country, everybody trying to butt up against ICE and what they're doing. They're not doing anything incorrect. They are labeled with their garb and everything like that. They got their face masks on, keeping themselves so they're not being docked by everybody else. They're doing it the right way. And so many towns, organizations, cities and whatnot were always saying, you know, well, if we had the town officers involved to try and diffuse the situation, it helps to allow them to do their job, get in and get the one or two people that they're going after for whatever reason. That's not for you and I to debate. We don't even know anything about it. Our police are there to protect the people. Let them go there, do their job, and be there to protect any of us that are there. We're not there to protect the instigators like these two that just left. And it's obvious that's what they're doing. They come in here, say their spiel, and leave. They don't care. They're just here to be on this camera and do that. Our police are there to do their job, and if that means assisting fellow police officers, federal or local, that's what they do, and that's what we pay for. So I'm against what they just said, and we should allow them to do their job and take part in whatever operations are going on in our towns, plain and simple. And we'll talk about the dog during the dog.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Okay, Mary?
Mary?
Okay, I'm here. I am going to state an obvious question and, you know, take it for what it is. I would like to know who is the committee for planning the response to ICE raids in the town of Essex. And if there is not a committee, I would like to see one instated immediately. And I would like to see a meeting regarding this matter immediately. I would like to have more action on this. I do not believe ICE is operating in any kind of legal manner. I believe their actions are unconstitutional. And I think that we need to take this seriously. It is coming here, and we need to know what actions are going to be taken. And that can't happen unless there's a group of people in some kind of planning capacity for this issue. Thank you.
We need your full name, please.
Mary Trudeau.
Thank you.
I have a question. So all these people that are chiming in,
You're free to make comment. You don't have to be a town resident to make a comment, public comment.
okay.
So just a point of order.
I'm curious about that.
Lorraine Zaloom?
Well, thank you, Chair. Lorraine Zaloom, I live on Center Road, and yes, I'm a town resident, long time. Yes, I also just want to make a couple comments about, first of all, I'm not happy to hear someone characterize a member of the public in such a way without knowing and understanding intent. I don't think that's fair, just as I wouldn't characterize the gentleman who spoke before me. I was curious because at the town meeting day, we had the police there, a number of police represented. I unfortunately wasn't unable to attend. I do love our town meeting. And as you know, I think you all know, I worked with the town police for quite some time on some policy. And one of the things I think that maybe we're forgetting too is that many of us who grew up here don't necessarily live in other people's shoes and what they experience. And I think we had a number of uniformed police there. I don't know that, I thought that was one of the policies that we worked on in terms of trying to engage the public and build relationships, was to not have people, the officers show up en masse in uniform. So it's one of the things I would like to address. And the other thing was, when a member of the public was asking the police about what would happen with a family member who is brown and adopted and has a passport and is a citizen, who they would call if they got picked up by an unmarked car with a masked up person because that is happening. It has happened. It is documented that is happening. And unlike the gentleman before, I disagree that everything is being done right by ICE, and we'd have proof of that because they have lost a number of cases in court already and have had to have people returned. I'm wondering what policy that we have in terms of ICE interaction, because the officers that were there on town meeting day said not to interfere. I think we need clarification on that, because if my family member gets picked up and there's no warrant and no reason, that to me is unconstitutional. And they have a right to call the police to be protected from a federal officer. We just really need clarification. Also, apparently the officers said that they had not had a meeting about policy and how to handle those type of interactions. I'm concerned about the safety of our officers as well, because I'm concerned about liability too, after what just happened in South Burlington. That was quite the mess, and I have a feeling there's going to be a number of lawsuits that come out of that. Toward the Vermont State Police, South Burlington Police, as well as Burlington Police. They saw a number of the videos, and the fair and partial policing was not followed by a couple of the officers. And I feel bad for the other officers who are impacted by that behavior, by a few officers that may be forgetting their training. So I would like to see this addressed as soon as possible. I understand that we had an incident in Lamel. I really appreciate that Chief Hogue helped diffuse that situation. So I think as town people, we need clarification to understand what exactly would happen if a member of our family is picked up by a federal agent without a warrant. Who do we call? What do we do? It is real. It is happening. And I am having my friends who are not of the white race or maybe have an accent, who are already afraid to even go to Walmart. And these are not people who are afraid. They're citizens. They're not normally afraid. They've never been afraid. Now they're afraid to go to even Walmart because we know the police presence is always there too. So we need help, guys. I'm worried about our police too. We need their safety. And then on another note, for the dog bite, I'm so sorry that happened for all around. Sorry for the select board as well. That was just really tragic, and I look forward to a robust discussion about that. And also on 1B, if 1B comes around, I'm concerned about mitigating some of the water table issues that are happening as their water table continues to rise. And I see the 1B in terms of the units that will be allowed to be built as we continue waiving one outlets for too long roads and not dealing with their transportation issues, and also not mitigating or being prepared to mitigate water table issues like requiring delineations in areas that we see on the state map. And maybe saying not allowing basements in those areas, because it looks to me like the state's working on reducing the buffer from 50 foot to 25. And there's people who are living on Chelsea, and certainly in our area, we are seeing water in a basement year round now. And that's a not only health hazard, but it's pushing the cost of mitigating issues around pushing the building onto the private sector. And that's a $20,000 bill, and it's very difficult to deal with. So to me, if we're going to do something like 1B, I want to see a robust discussion about that. My understanding is that the select board is the final word on it. So I hope the select board is well informed. Also curious about how the units are now being quantified and qualified in terms of how we're building per parcels, because it looks to me like the new state law and statute is confusing for staff and certainly for me. And I'm still waiting to hear back from staff on that. So I hope that is also examined. And again, thank you all for your hard work. It's not an easy job that you all do. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody in the room? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Irene Renner, Thrushton. I won't be speaking about ice or dogs right now. I did want to let you know, if you didn't already, that today the governor signed H516, an act relating to charter changes that came from Essex about our town charter. So that's great news, I think. And my second and final issue has to do with the potential of having a new town office someday inside the town of Essex. I knocked on a lot of doors in 2012 to make sure we could pass the bond that built the police facility within Essex Junction and renovated this building completely so that it's a beautiful building, it's ADA compliant, etc. I'm reminded that almost a year ago, the town of Johnson moved their library out of a floodplain to a different location, and I hope that as you talk about what to do with the piece of property that we bought with the ARPA funds, you will think about moving this building up the hill to save the costs of reconstructing a new town center. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your comments. MSS? We also need your full name, please.
Hi, I think this is me, but I couldn't hear. This is Margaret Smith, Alder Lane, and I have a comment that I think might be ICE related, but I'm not positive. I have seen a number of cars in the last couple of weeks with license plates that were obscured, or just very weird. There was a red car over in front of Mimo's that had white stuff on the front, and the back plate had a cover over it so that it was unreadable. I took a picture of it, and all that came up was black in the back. I saw a car today pull up in front of the Essex Post Office, a black Mazda, and the plate in back just had big black letters saying private. Is that legal? And is there somebody that I can complain to? It's probably not your issue, but if you've got suggestions, I'd be happy to hear that. Thank you.
Margaret, thanks for bringing that up. If you have concerns about suspicious activity or suspicious people or vehicles, you can report that to the police.
Are you all set?
Yeah, that was all I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Thank you. Darlene Campbell Payne?
Yes, hello. My name is Darlene Campbell Payne, and Stephen Campbell was my brother. I have a lot of anger of what happened, and I'd like to make some comments because I know you're reviewing your ordinance. But I feel like after the first biting from Dr. Haddock, and all my sympathy goes out to him. The pain he must have gone through was horrible, but that dog should have been impounded, and it should have been someone qualified should have taken that. Somebody with a qualification should have labeled that dog dangerous and vicious, and it should have been impounded for at least 30 days while this investigation was going on. And during that impounding of the time and the 30 days, I'm thinking that, that's a good time for you to determine whether the dog can be safely trained, determined if he can wear a muzzle or tolerate a muzzle. The history of the dog needs to be investigated so much more, as well as the owner's history, and investigate where the dog's living conditions. Only after all those things have been cleared and that dog can be returned home, or that dog has to be euthanized. I just feel like if this dog had been impounded immediately after its first attack, the other attacks wouldn't happen, and my brother would be alive today. And I hope in your discussions later that you take this so very seriously, This is something that really did not need to happen. And I just thank you so much for listening to me.
I can assure you that we feel your tragedy and that we will be talking about it at length when we review the ordinance. We are very sorry for your loss, and thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Mary again, or Rachel is off, has nothing. She's not spoken yet.
Mary?
Yes, very quickly, I want to say, Darlene, I'm very sorry for your loss. And very quickly, I just want to say, yes, I am from the town of Essex. I live on Circle Drive. If when I spoke before, I didn't say that, so I'm telling you now. Thanks.
Thank you. Rachel? Lazat?
Hi there. I apologize. I meant to reach out to the town today, and this isn't necessarily urgent, but it's tangentially related to the dog ordinance discussion. I was just wondering if someone knew how many dog complaints or dog bites have there been at Indian Brook, let's say in the last 6 years. And I wanted to ask the board, I know it's not on the agenda tonight, but while this tragedy has happened, I think now is the time to address all of the aggressive dog issues in the town to protect the citizens. And the off-leash situation at Indian Brook is pretty much untenable most of the time. And in my opinion, when an off-leash dog runs up to someone who is not expecting them at a baseline, it's startling, no matter how much you love dogs. And but more often than not, it is frightening for people. My family does not like to go there anymore, and then to have an owner come up to you however many minutes later and say, "Oh, he's so friendly, don't worry," that means nothing. That's not voice control. This has been debated. I mean, I've listened to the dog leash situation issues at meetings before, but in my opinion, the leashes should be required on the trails, or if there needs to be a compromise, make there an off leash section like they do at Mill River. But I think it has to be part of this discussion because, aggressive dogs aren't going away, and there has to be some sort of happy medium to keep folks safe in town resources. And that's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Any further questions in the room? Any more
respond
online?
to Rachel real quick?
Go ahead.
Rachel, I just wanted to, I think you're still on. I can't see your name on the board anymore. Indian Brook does have areas that are on leash and off leash. Your comments were brought up, and I'll definitely use them as we move forward in the discussion, but there is those delineations presently at the park.
Okay.
Sharon Skowski.
Sharon Zukowski?
I'll be quick. Just to specify, the on leash part is in the parking lot and a very short distance up the trail, and it's very confusing to people. I mean, even people that are trying to do it right, they can never figure out. There's like a little round dot that says like on leash. It just, everybody's confused by it. So maybe better delineation, but there isn't a very long stretch, and it is part of the same trail that is off leash, and most people don't bother on that part of the trail except the parking lot. I've yet to see one person who has an off leash dog that bothers at the beginning of that off leash part of the trail to put their dog on leash. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you for your comments. You want to reply to that?
Thank you, Sharon. I think Rachel raised some points that we can definitely improve upon. I was purely just saying that we have these policies at least in place, and I think that improving upon them is a great point. And I know Rachel has her hand. I'd love to give her a chance to respond as well.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Sorry, I was just going to say what Sharon was going to say. It's really just the parking lot that is on leash right now. the bulk of the trails allow the off-leash dogs. And there's really, there's nowhere, nothing, no enforcement. So it's up to, you and the dog owner to sort of work it out. And I know not too long ago, there was a child bit at Indian Brook and they were trying to track down the dog. And I just really would be curious to see how many reports of dog bites there have been there, and have the board take it much more seriously than they're taking it.
Thank you for your comments. No more questions online. No more questions in the room.
Got one in the back.
Whoop. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Cheryl Van Epps, Rustic Drive. I'm a Essex Town resident. I'm here to really talk about the value of human lives, and to begin with, I value folks who value others' lives. I've been in a vulnerable place where my life was not valued. And I can't tell you, when you cannot advocate for yourself, who's there to do it. The system doesn't. I'm here to tell you that. I survived, and I'm here to tell you that. I'm worried about those who are detained by ICE agents. I've heard patients were taken away from translators. We knew that during COVID, translators were few and far between. They were in shortage. And I worry about our town's liability if something were to happen to a detainee. I ask you that you think about that, the town's liability, if something were to happen to somebody who is detained by ICE. I'm sorry, I can't see with these glasses what I wrote. I ask that you think of their rights. Okay. Some of these are elderly, they're children, they're folks, maybe they have autism. These folks are vulnerable. If you've ever traveled overseas and weren't able to speak the language, I was there too. People were more likely to spit on us to offer us help until we found another American who showed us where we needed to go. It's a scary place. So please consider that. Thank you. And put human lives first. Thank you.
Do you want to reply to that? Yeah, go ahead, Jen. I have a hard time hearing.
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate you raising those points.
Okay, another hand in the room. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My other comments aside, I absolutely have empathy for people who've had to deal with ICE and people who've had to deal with vicious dogs. I see that you're evaluating the town manager. You're either in the process or you're ending the process. I don't know where you are with that. But it's come to my knowledge that, my attention, that there were negotiations and conversations with Amazon for years before any of us knew it. And I just want to make sure that there are no negotiations going on right now with the federal government about setting up warehouses, concentration camps, call them what you will, behind the scenes that we're not going to find out about until it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any more questions? Seeing none, I'll move on our agenda. Our next item is the consent agenda item. Do I have a motion to approve that? Ethan? So
Move approval of the consent agenda.
perfect. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second. Motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. That brings us to our first business item, which is a discussion with the Essex Westford School District about the annual meeting date.
Thank you, Select Board members. I appreciate you guys having us tonight. It's great to see you all. My name is Robert Krupner. I'm from the Essex Westford School Board. I'm the chair, and then I'll let my other board members introduce themselves.
Ronald Versa, I'm the vice chair of the school board. And
I'm Jemima Talbot, the clerk.
And
Jemima, do you want to scoot over so you can be on camera?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we can get cozy, so.
And really what we're doing is, so we're going around to each municipality. Over the past number of years, there's been a lot of individuals reaching out to the board, asking for us to move our voting day to be in alignment with all municipalities. So the town and Westford both currently are on town meeting day. The city is in April, but they might be shifting, and the ask has basically been for the school board to move our vote. I know going back a few years ago when I was door knocking to join the school board, there were many people who would say, oh, I already got a ballot in the mail and I got this second one, so I just threw this one out. So there was a lot of questions around, what is this second vote all about? So we as a school board this past Tuesday night, we did approve to put on our warned ballot that there will be the opportunity for voters to choose to move the annual budget vote back to town meeting day, which would be in alignment with the town, with Westford, and then if the city were to move in alignment with them, we believe that it would bring about more voter turnout. It would take away some of that confusion of what is being voted on when, and we would also support communication. But with that, the reason why we're going around to each municipality is really to answer any questions that you all might have or any concerns. If we don't have the answer tonight, we're happy to circle back, get that information and give it back to you. But this has been something in the past years that's been asked by the clerks. It's been asked by different board members on different boards and also been asked by our community. So we are putting it out to the voters to let them decide where we should go with our overall vote. But happy to answer any questions that you all might have this evening. And like I said, we'll circle back if there's anything we don't have answers to this evening.
I just have a quick question for you. I'm super excited for this. This is great. But my only question was, are you guys doing year by year for mailing ballots, or is that a policy change?
So we changed to do, there's a little postcard that will come in the mail and give people the option to have
Awesome.
a mail-in. Yeah, so we don't do a blanket mail-in anymore.
Perfect.
It's, and that was asked by the clerks, that it would be easier. So if there was ever a revote, it's not having to mail everything back out again. They know exactly who needs to get it mailed out versus who would just need another ballot.
Awesome.
Yep.
Just got two questions and a comment. Sure. Similar to how you thanked us, I thank you guys for the service you provide. You do a lot of great for this community, so thank you for the time and effort you put in. First question is, I assume there's cost savings with this. Do you have numbers that would say how much this would save voters?
So I don't have the exact numbers. But
Approximately about $40,000 for us if we were to move them and combine them, because that's second elections out there. That's the extra cost usually for it there. If we add in the mail-in ballots, I think it's like another $20,000 just to do that portion there too. So it will be cost savings overall. We have the built-in, promotion of Town Meeting Day for everybody there, as you guys know, and so that actually would take some cost away from there. We would have to do in a separate ballot, a mailer, and different pieces there. We could just focus on the one mailer, which actually has the budget information on there. But overall, it would be a cost savings for the district and for taxpayers as a whole. So.
Great. I've always thought, and I grew up in this town, and it's always been the way it's been done, that it's unusual that it is separated. Was that, do you know the history as to why it was like that?
I can fill in that there too. So because again, when we were still, as we know, we will not rehash merger and separation for the town and for the junction. But as we know, when the town would vote by law, because the junction was a village, they had to do their vote for their trustees and other positions there. So they had to do it afterwards. So generally they would do it a month afterwards. At some point back, decades ago, it was in May, but they moved it closer up so they would be closer and mirrored with the town. So the town to vote first, and everybody voted in that there, and the village voted separately in May, and so, or sorry, in April. And so then when EWC came together, originally the votes were all separate. So the United High School would vote in March, I believe. The Junction schools would vote in April, and Town and Westford schools voted in March as well. So when they came together and the articles of agreement for all three municipalities and all three districts came together, the decision was to go with April to give the district, because again, spinning up a new district, all the extra work, they want to make sure they had time to make sure they had everything in place, and then they would revisit at a later date to move the ballot vote. We talked about it 2 years ago.
And we held off.
We held up because again of Act 73 and things happening on the state level, that kind of threw everything into disarray, and so we were given advisement at that point to hold off. But in having conversations over the last couple of years, we decided to go ahead and we think now is the time to move forward. We know that there's going to be uncertainty at the state level, but we feel that our district is well prepared for that, and most of the districts across the state also vote on Town Meeting Day. Out of the 124 ballot votes, I believe about all but 19 of them vote on Town Meeting Day. So we'd be in line with all the rest of the districts they're doing right now. There's a few that do it in April and even as far back as May. So yeah, so history-wise, again, it was trying to blend, like a blended family, bring everybody together.
Sure.
So all those pieces came together, and now we figured this is the last kind of piece that we've been holding off for a while to do, and we think this makes sense for all three of our communities. So.
And my last comment, or is a question for you. I've heard when people have talked about this that one of the reasons some people believe it was separated is because, they're large budgets. The town budget is large, 17 million that passed just a few weeks ago, and then your budget is equally large usually. Are you at all concerned in people getting sticker shock with them being together?
I think at the end of the day, the big thing is going to be coordinating with all municipalities around communication, because I think we want to err away from any confusion of what am I actually voting for, and I think making it really clear of like, this is the school budget, this is the town budget, that they're not combined, because especially people that move from out of state, a lot of times it is combined into one package. If you look at Massachusetts, for instance.
And honestly, we go to the city right now. We still have to do every year, do outreach to community members to make them understand that there's a municipal budget and a school budget, and that they're separate, and that there are separate ballot initiatives when they get different articles on their ballot. So that's a conversation we have every year. So it's just going to be a larger conversation that we're going to have with folks in the town and folks in Westford. But that's going to be work on our part, and also working with all of you guys and working with State Council and Town Select Board, how we continue to do outreach with community members to help them understand all the pieces of the ballot, so that that sticker shock isn't as bad, and really make sure to understand like there's that while that bill may come together, that the pieces are different, and that there's going to be different outcomes if they vote yes or no on those different pieces. So,
great, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Shane.
The warrant item doesn't leave me much latitude to ask a question of the school boards that's here. How much latitude do I have?
I don't know. I think you're the chair. You can ask us, and we'll see if we can go that far or not. So yeah.
So the one question that keeps coming up that I hear is you folks own some property over on Saxon Hill.
Yes.
The school and the park and recs uses that a lot and everything, and the town has been interested in acquiring that from the board. So I would just put a little bug in your ear that I'd be curious as to if that is something that you would consider.
I can cover that a little bit as
yeah.
As I'm the chair. We have some committees on our board. I'm chair of facilities and finance. So on the facility side, I can let you guys know that expect this spring and as well as also the summer and the fall, you're going to see some community conversations coming from us around what do our properties look like right now and what will they look like in the future. And we know that real estate is a premium for both the town and for the city and even for Westford. So whatever it looks like in the future, we know that conversations that come up with all of you of what those spaces look like that we may not end up using or may end up selling back to the town, selling back to the city, whatever they may look like, that conversation is coming. So yes, so we know that we've had conversations with other municipalities. They're like, hey, the land's of a premium. We'd love to have it if you guys are not using in the future. That conversation is coming. We definitely want community members. We want all the boards also a part of that conversation because I think it's important for us. Is again, those spaces are community spaces. They're important to all of us, and we want to make sure whether it's the buildings or the land itself that we're all on the same page with whatever decisions we make in the long term. So
Awesome. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's really all I had.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, questions for the public as well
Yeah,
too. So.
Any public comment?
I'll just add for the public to just remind folks that vote is going to be on April 14th.
Yep.
That ballot initiative itself is going to be article number 6 on that ballot for folks, just in case they were wondering.
Okay, awesome. Lorraine Zaloom?
Thank you, Chair. Great to see the board here. Hi, everybody. I live in Center Road, Essex. First of all, this is awesome. I was so excited. I grew up in the big city, so happy to see that everything's finally coming back together. Just a couple things. How will that impact your timeline for being able to budget? The other thing is, which is always a tight timeline anyway, and especially because of some of the asks from the state as well are kind of confused right now. And then also, I was thinking on the ballot because people still, even though for years now, still seem to think that the property taxes don't realize that our town taxes are different from the school taxes. And I don't know if there's a great way to add that kind of information when we send out like a postcard, just an informational postcard. And then also maybe like the state does, the state has an opt-in and maybe there's a QR code or something could be added, but the state allows us to sign up for everything in the beginning of the year so that everything, if you want it mailed, it'll automatically get sent out to you so that people don't have to worry about forgetting or, because I heard from, actually my mom, I think, said she thought she was going to get automatically mailed. And some people, I think that certainly is not a good impact on our voting in terms of just trying to get more votes out. So I don't know if you're aware that people don't realize that people aren't getting automatically mailed anymore, and if there's a way to help educate the public. Thanks.
Hey, Lorraine, it's great to see you. So to answer your first question, one of the things that we as the board have consistently gone through over the past couple of years, and our operations officers have said this, is we need to stop following the bouncing ball that is the state, because things change so much. And this is actually what postponed this vote a couple years ago, and we held back because the state changed the rules for budgeting midway through the year. So as a result, we held back, but we have talked to our administration. They've talked to principals, like we've kind of talked through all channels, and have realized that, yes, this will move it up by a month. That just means our whole timeline gets shifted up a little bit sooner. But seeing so many districts across the state that are also in the same boat, if the state were to change rules midway, we would all be in the same boat anyways, like we were a couple years ago with Act 127. So that's to answer your first question of we do feel that we have the capacity to move that, and it will just make it a cleaner process altogether, and we'll kind of still be advocating at the state to see what they're doing around Act 73 and implementing new avenues across the state with funding as well as redistricting. To your second question about the mail-in ballot piece, so there is a little postcard that does go out every year that does specifically ask people to fill it out and return it if they do want a mail-in ballot. I can follow up, see if there is a QR code type piece. Separately from that, though, the district does send out its own postcard. So I know the town does an awesome job sending out the annual meeting booklets. The school district sends out an individual postcard that has a QR code on it that brings you back to all of our budget information to help delineate, what are they voting on, what is the overall budget, what's the items within there that they're voting on too, in terms of the ballot. But that will be going out in the next couple of weeks here for all voters to be made aware of. Here's the school budget vote. This is what you're voting on. This is when you need to vote. And also explain a little bit more than what the ballot items can actually share, because the ballot items themselves are by statute. We would like to write them differently to be able to add in more information or write it so that it's understandable of what it actually means. But unfortunately, it's state statute in terms of how those are written, which can also cause confusion, which is why we send out that postcard mailer.
Lorraine, to add to that point too, we can definitely look to put out some different engagement pieces for the community around the fact that they can sign up to vote and just get mail ballots the entire year. I did it myself last week. And so especially with folks here in the town who are voting potentially 4 times this year, between the vote you guys just had, April, August, and November, state's gonna have 3. There's gonna be multiple potential folks to vote this year, and definitely if folks prefer to get mail-in ballots, we can definitely start putting that word out before the April 14th vote to let folks know that they go online and sign up now for the upcoming 3 votes coming up the rest of this year, that they could get mail-in ballots for the remainder of the year. So thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Any more public comment? I will bring it back to the board because that brought up a good point. With you going to the annual meeting with the town, there should be an opportunity for both of us, the town and the school board, to consolidate and save money, both with the annual report and stuff. So I would expect you guys are well aware of that already, but I would encourage everybody to work on that because right now it's kind of a duplication of work, and there should be some savings for both sides, hopefully.
We can definitely plan to reach out after we get the summertime and things a little bit quiet for us, and hopefully a little bit quiet for you guys as well too. Our plan is to reach out to all 3 municipalities, but we can talk about that and see where are ways that we can be creative to help not just the district, but all 3 municipalities save a little bit of money, but still get information out to voters in an effective way. So
perfect.
And our administration can be reaching out to Greg and individuals too. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Have a great evening.
Okay, that brings us to item 6B, which is discussion about town ordinances for dog licensing and control. So do you want to start this, Greg, or?
I'm happy to start. Greg, please chime in. After the hearing that was held in February, after the dog bite that Mr. Haddock experienced, the select board held a hearing. because of a language distinction in the ordinance, only the vicious dog process was available to attacks that occur off the dog's property. So that euthanasia wasn't an option for the board to consider when trying to address the situation under our ordinance. And after that meeting, the board had asked staff to look into whether we can expand that definition, how we might want to do that, what resources might be available, and things to consider. So the memo from the board, from the board packet, recounts some of that conversation where the board does have the authority to open up the ordinance and expand the jurisdiction of the hearing process. There is some conversation in the memo about cautions from attorneys who are talking more on the side of the frequency of dog bites, that 70% of dog bites occur on a dog owner's property. It means that could change the number of hearings that we experience and certainly would expand the number of situations eligible to have a hearing under those. So Greg and I, as well as staff, were talking about having a conversation with the board about what direction you would like us to research or gather more information or propose language around, and you know what the public sentiment is around where you land on that. So.
Okay, you want to start, Shannon?
If you want to start.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, I really appreciate all the public outreach we've had from members of the public raising concerns with us about this terrible situation. Obviously, my condolences to the family that is dealing with this, but it is highlighting a very serious flaw in our system presently. I sent an email the evening after we held that hearing to the staff saying we need to change our ordinance because there's no doubt in my mind that we should have been able to say that that dog should have been put down. The gentleman who came in and he did pass some pictures of his injuries. You know, luckily he was healing at that point in time, but to see the devastation that dog did to him was, you know, still haunts me. And I think about, you know, the neighbors, the dog, the children that live in that road. You know, I live a mile away, but I take my kids in strollers all the time by that house. And I can only imagine what it's like to live within a stone's throw of a dangerous situation. So to me, I appreciate the staff, you know, doing their due diligence, talking to our lawyers, talking to VLCT, looking at what other municipalities around us are doing. I think it is absolutely critical that we, you know, adjust this to make sure that not just the level of which a bite occurs could trigger that you have that option available for you, regardless of location. I also appreciated what one of our members of the community talked about. If it happens to a vulnerable population, as described by age of a victim or things like that. I think there's a lot of ways we can look at this, but there's no doubt in my mind that we need to take a very serious look into this to protect not just the whole community, but people in their homes as well.
Any comments, Ethan?
Yeah, I have a couple comments about how I think the process should go. As far as the ordinance itself, I'm kind of up in the air for suggestions from everybody. One of the things that somebody had mentioned to me that really stuck with me over the last couple of weeks and most recently this last week was that if a dog bite breaks the skin, and I can't remember exactly what town they quoted, but they said in a town they had found when a dog bite breaks the skin, it automatically is a vicious dog. So I don't know. I can ask for more information on that. But one of the things that I was kind of hoping for tonight was the select board to essentially create some goals or 5 general subjects or accomplishments that we plan to receive out of this, you know, things that we're not willing to budge on. And then we give those goals to staff and allow them to look into how they can write the ordinance, legal review, and then bring it back to us as a starting point. So that way we have something to start with, because we know our old ordinance is, you know, honestly. So I think in my sense of being productive with this, I think if we kind of stuck with our 5 main goals and then give them some time to go the legal route to, it's got to be in compliance with the state of Vermont. But I'm curious to what you guys are thinking, but I'd like to get, an agreement on some goals we can add to later, but I think we need to find a starting point to give them something to work on.
Well, I was just, I was struck that one of the things that came up that seems like it would be very good to have is to notify the abutting neighbors whenever there's a dog issue. Because that's true, we heard a lot of stuff after the fact from the neighbors that weren't here for the hearing. So I think that's a very valuable thing to change in the ordinance. The other thing I was struck by was the fact that even with the tragedy that occurred, the police had to get the owner's consent to take the dog. Otherwise, they would have had to go and get a court order to do it. And I believe that goes right to the statute in the state. So you really have to consider that in any changes that you make. The other thing that I was struck in our ordinance is that there's no mention of the levels of bites. And I think that anything over a level 4 bite should be 2. Well, right, but I mean, your level 4 is gets to the serious. There should be some teeth in the ordinance that allows the police, that we give the police through the ordinance to take the dog, impound the dog without, to be able to do it. Really, that first incident, they should have had, somewhere in the ordinance, we should have had the ability to remove the dog. And there were very valid reasons that were given why impoundment wasn't recommended, and actually the owner was very adamant about how she can control the dog, and the dog was not an issue, and it was a problem. And again, that's private property. So that I don't. It's not a simple thing to change the ordinance, but there needs to be some changes to the ordinance because we have a police department and a dog catcher, and we have these tools, but our hands were tied.
On that, I'd like to thank the police and the response they had. I know you texted me, said, "Hey, listen, there's 2 cars flying down. It sounds like something happened." The police did a great job responding. Animal control did a great job, not just coming to our hearing and testifying, but also making suggestions and helping us that evening when we spent 2.5 hours putting together everything we could do within the reason of the law. So I just want to note that. In responding to you, and responding especially to this memo, I did not appreciate the cautious language that lawyers use, saying that, if you touch this, you might have a whole bunch of people reporting dogs and stuff. I welcome that. I think as a community, our purpose here is to make sure people are safe. And if this is just scratching the surface of a situation in which there are a lot of situations that should be reported, I welcome it, and I look forward to making our community a safer place. So I do not see this, VLCT recommendation of proceed with caution, because you might have a lot of these popping up. If it's a problem in our community, we need to face it and fix it. So that, obviously this is a discussion amongst the select board members, but responding to this memo, I think it is testament that we face this problem and hope that this is not the tip of an iceberg, but that we can dam this problem up and fix it immediately. I know that there's no action to be taken from this tonight. It's purely for discussion and to give direction to our staff so we can move forward in a lengthy process to change an ordinance. But, Ethan, if you want to lead kind of on the 5 points, I agree with. As a low-hanging fruit, letting neighbors know that there's an incident happening. I think we can debate and work with legal experts, bringing animal control and different things, and vets and everything else to talk about what is the level on the, I forget whose name it is, but the scale of 1 to 6 bites, what level actually constitutes the need for that end of life action being taken. But I think that there's no doubt in my mind that this needs to change.
So we're all in agreement on notifying the neighbors. Do you want to we'll do some points to jot down.
Yeah. How far away? What's the radius you're looking?
I would say abutters.
Yeah, I think the
Develop-
zoning. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was just gonna say zoning is abutting properties,
Immediate abutters, yeah.
Okay.
and then I think the abutting neighbor's responsibility is to tell the neighbor behind them, and at least somebody else knows. We'll just leave it as the level of bite
To be determined.
to be determined, but that's something we're headed.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because in that first hearing, we had 2 experts give us their written testimony about the dog based on the bite level.
Right.
So.
And in those recommendations, they said this dog should be put down.
Exactly.
Right.
And we were still tied by the ordinance that we
That
were
we
able
had.
to do. So those written expert opinions should be able to fit into the ordinance to give us more weight.
So let's think about the quarantine, about the impounding, because we could put that in our ordinance, where after a bite, I believe, maybe this is why we're giving them areas to look into, but we could put it in the ordinance that after a bite, specified amount of days, the select board has the right to impound the dog for 15 days. Shall be returned, shall it meet requirements, or whatever.
I don't know that we have
Authority.
impoundment capabilities. Just as in like, we rent as the town 1 kennel at the Humane Society, and if we already have that filled, how do we enforce such a thing that we'll take a dog for 30 days? 30 days is a long time.
I'm not saying 30.
I believe, and I could be wrong, but a Humane Society, if they pick up a stray, if that dog is not taken care of within 7 days, it is then euthanized. So usually that's policies for municipalities. It's 30 days. I know that was one of our public commenters brought that up, and I think that the intent is good, but I just don't think that we can throw around a 30 days and expect them to follow that. I don't know our practice.
But do we like
maybe,
the idea of a potential quarantine for a couple days, or 72 hours, even anything after a dog bite, for let the select board digest, or?
And this is just my opinion, and I like to bring in experts to see if that would actually be reasonable,
Helpful.
or if we can, as a town, with our animal control, execute that.
See, and again, that could be based on the severity of the bite.
Right.
I mean, you can't say a level 1 bite, you're gonna impound a dog, but you could certainly say a 4 or 5, you do.
And then the big one is gonna be redefining potentially vicious, and I know this is a tragic incident what happened, but I want to be very mindful of the potential for a home invasion dog bite, and I don't know what that looks like, but I think that it should be clearly stated in the rare case of a home invasion that if there is a dog bite associated with that. I don't know. Somebody brought that to my attention. I heard them, thought it was worth bringing up, but I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I agreed.
Can I respond?
Go ahead.
I absolutely agree, and I actually think that that's the crux of this problem, that we have the definition of on property versus off property. Obviously, if the dog's protecting its home because someone's robbing you in the middle of the night, you have every right for that dog to do its job. And I think that's what this language is in place for. So I think it's important that we work with lawyers to make sure we don't lose that privilege or that right, that we can protect our land with the dog. But at the same point,
There has
in
to be a
situation
line.
like this, where a volunteer, you can't think of a more a more plain example of a volunteer from Meals on Wheels going to a home to give someone a meal is mauled. And Mr. Haddock's testimony when he left, saying if this had not been a grown man, if this had been, my mother used to volunteer with Meals on Wheels. A lot of those volunteers are not, bodybuilders. So I think that it would have been even worse then. The other thing I would add is, and I think it's a topic we need to think about, is additional dog ownership if there is a situation. And we're dealing with this right now, in which I'm sure a lot of people, surrounding neighbors, are nervous. They have another dog. They have an owner there that was not fit to keep one dog, and obviously was a much larger dog than what is still there, at bay. I think we need to have something in this list when we think about an ordinance and think about consequences, that adds additional protections.
That brings up, you got anything? Or sorry, yelling in the microphone. That brings up a good point. Somebody else, I have had so many conversations about this recently, but one of the other things was somebody mentioned to me that the property owner should be liable for the dog bite, not the dog owner. I understand that the dog owner is relevant, but the property owner is the responsible party to the town of Essex. So I don't know how that plays. But if the dog is residing at a residence, that residence is deeded to said person at town hall. There's got to be some sort of responsibility there. And one of the counterpoints brought up to that from the person who brought the point was, what about renters? And I said, well, in my mind, the accountability is there if you're renting your property to somebody with a dog. That if that dog is causing problems, then not only the renter, but also, so I don't think it's excluding the dog owner. I think it's just making it mandatory that the property owner is to be at these hearings where your property is in violation because of this dog. So make it more of a responsibility thing on the parcel, as well as just for cases where somebody's living in or renting or.
Good point.
So I don't know if that's something we want to explore. I mean, there's endless steps that I think we did a really good job with what we could at the potentially vicious hearing. And I think that we get a starting point, and like I had spoke with Greg earlier, and I said, this is going to be something that's going to take a lot of time, but I think we need to get a starting point before we just bring it to the board 4 times and try to write our own and then give it to legal and they throw the whole thing away, rather than us giving them points and then incorporating our points into a legal document, and then we can kind of add to it there. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I haven't said.
Okay.
We'll
One thing I would specify, since it is in the memo, is that there is a significantly increased liability exposure to the town if the ordinance is adopted and changed this way, but not carefully enforced. So I would be curious from staff what those costs would entail. Additional staffing, all the costs, basically. What kind of costs are we looking at if we take on the additional responsibilities?
And maybe get the numbers on another FTE AOC.
Yeah.
Or ACO, rather. Full-time Employee Animal Control Officer is the abbreviation I used.
Well, I think we should know those numbers, but we shouldn't just jump into another person.
I agree, but I think it's something that is relevant to a conversation that asks about staff time, and I think are we 1.5 right now, or are we 3/4?
For an ACO?
Yeah.
It's a contracted service.
Oh, it used to be.
And we did have an
that's
issue
right.
with timing and availability too,
Sometimes.
even through this. So that's definitely something to be aware of and take into account.
So that retired 24, 23, and then we just eliminated the position and went to.
I don't think we eliminated it so much as
We couldn't find
maybe it
anybody.
used to be a part-time position. It
was a
former officer.
that's right.
I think we just had a hard time finding someone in that position, so we looked for contractors.
So maybe that's something that we bring back up to discussion, is maybe if that half, I think Greg is right. I think it was a half, maybe it was 0.5, or maybe I thought it was 3/4 for some reason, but maybe we look at if that position is still budgeted in the police budget. It may be vacancy allowance right now, But maybe we take that position, whether it's a half or 3/4, maybe we bring it back to 1 with benefits, make it a full-time position, and actively hire, so the town could have an animal control officer and potentially, I don't know, just options for.
Well, these are good things to kick around.
But yeah, should we hear from all of our residents?
Yeah.
Before we do, does the staff have any comments they'd like to share?
Does that give you something to go on?
So just to recap, a notification of a notification to immediate abutters when there's a hearing. Incorporating the level of bite analysis that we had heard from the professional staff here at the hearing into the ordinance itself, sort of defining the severity. There was some suggestions around whether we'll have to look into legally whether the board has the authority to allow police to possess the animal after an event. Redefining potentially vicious to acknowledge home protection concerns. What to do about multiple dogs in the home. Making sure that the property owner has a level of accountability in the process, and then cost information. What am I missing?
Does that cover pretty much?
I would just make sure, not just defining the levels of bites, but using those levels of bites to trigger when you could have all actions available.
Okay, so the proportional consequence type.
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's a good start.
And just to mention on the statute side of things, there are specific procedures that are required to be sent to the owner. So we could never eliminate that practice, but we could add, the dog owner.
Right.
So we could never exclude them, but we could certainly look at adding the property owner into that process as well.
Yeah. Any more comments? We'll
I think
open
we
it
should
up
hear from the public.
to the public. Yes, sir.
Having been the one bitten earlier,
Yeah, come-
I would.
Please, yeah, please.
While prior to the February 2nd meeting, I was not aware of the constraints imposed upon you in dealing with this dog. I've learned a lot since then, potentially vicious versus vicious, where it happens, where it doesn't happen. And I think you all did due diligence. I noticed you spent 2 hours on that night trying to figure out a way to make this right, and I appreciate that quite a bit. I would say if there was only one procedural thing I was disappointed in was the animal control officer had not seen the dog when she made her recommendations. And I think that's a shortcoming. But, and I appreciate what you're going through now. I feel for the man. I feel very lucky. I feel sad for that fellow. And it's just a tough situation you all are under. But I appreciate the points you made tonight sound reasonable to me as someone who was the victim of this. And I appreciate the efforts you're putting into it. Thank you very much.
Can you just state your name real quick?
Oh, my name is Joe Haddock. I live at 69 Sawmill Road. This is my 50th year.
Wow.
Congratulations.
And for Mr. Lawrence over there, despite my hand, I was able to deliver a lamb.
Wow.
Awesome. I delivered a baby calf on Wednesday.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
I appreciate your efforts, your work you all do. Heavens, it's a lot of work. I've been on a lot of boards, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've got Ken in the crowd.
Which one? Way in the back?
Yeah.
Ken.
Hi, Ken Signorello, Brigham Hill Road. You got some good concrete suggestions for the change to the ordinance. I've got a few other ideas for you to consider. A police report is a crucial element in deciding what actions you might do. That would help with the intruder scenario. If a police officer investigating the situation finds that it was an intruder that was the victim, maybe even a level 6, maybe that situation would change the actions that the select board might want to take, whether it had the option or not. One more other critical thing. If the owner is a victim of a bite, this is a tell That's a dog that has a trigger. There's a problem. If the owner can be attacked, and by the way, the owner of this dog was attacked and bitten, there's an issue. That needs to be incorporated as well. If an owner is a victim of a dog bite, that dog needs some special consideration. Thank you.
That's a very good point. Yes, sir.
Me again. So listening to what you guys were talking about tonight and how I just want to kind of add on to those a little bit. Ethan, when you were talking about the severity of the dog bite and some town it's, you know, a break the skin bite. I'm not here to advocate to try and get dogs written off as vicious, because dogs are dogs. I fight with my cats every night, and them damn things are meaner than hell. But the point of the matter is, we're having fun with it. A dog, depending on the size of the dog and the amount of, I think you got to take into account the amount of damage that a dog can do if it gets mean, and if it's doing something not protecting its property. Those are the things that you take into account as far as determining whether it's vicious or not, like that. I think it's kind of silly that you guys have to think about the fact that by putting the term, or by trying to update your ordinances to take care of that, have to protect the dog that's defending its property from a burglar. It's like, to me, that's like, really? This dog did nothing wrong except by the letter of the law, it bit somebody doing what it's supposed to do, as opposed to a dog like this that mauled Mr. Haddock and a couple of others, including its own owner. So it was just unfortunate in this situation. I feel extremely bad for Steve Campbell. I feel extremely lucky because I was also one of them individuals in the backyard being challenged by their other dog, that he is just as vicious, but I've never been afraid of him because of his size. I can take care of him without a problem. My neighbor that got challenged that day with her infant, as all of you have been informed, and I'm up at my house quite a ways away, and I'm hearing her scream and holler bloody murder. And it took a minute for it to click in my head what was going on, that I got in my truck and went down there, and that dog had come out from under the fence, which, if you've all been up there to see it, is not a fence, okay? That was all part of your discussion with it. That's water under the bridge. The fact of the matter is that poor mother with a brand new infant being challenged while holding a dog and the carriage and trying to defend herself and her dog away from the brown dog that still remains. And the reason I bring this today is I came to my understanding in my own head was some people just are not made to be dog owners. And I don't know if when you're getting in together your ordinances that the term vicious be applied to a dog based on the number of bites. You say you want to incorporate the police reports into it, yet nobody even heard about us calling the police and then being put on to the animal control officer, who I think at the time, if my numbers are right, works 1 or 2 days a week for the town and then works elsewhere. So the getting back and the getting in touch with each other and talk and communicating and having something work might be a little bit slower. That goes towards what Ethan's saying. If you open this up and you start getting a lot more calls because you're tightening those restraints, you're going to need somebody more full time. But that being said, the when that dog was challenging us, and I got her out of there with the baby and everything, and I was having a heated discussion with June, the wife of the victim. She's like, "What do you want me to do about this?" And I'm like, "You got to take care of this." And this was just the brown dog. And it wasn't till minutes later that that big black dog came out. Never seen him before in my life. And it was that day that, okay, that conversation ended right then and there when that dog came out, because I was like, if that dog had come out on a mission and picked up on what the brown dog was doing, we wouldn't have been okay. Now it's been proven true, right? And that was just me looking at it, right? And they get a bad name for themselves, that breed of dog. And just looking at it, I was freaked out and I left. And I went right down to my neighbor, the one that was being challenged, and I told her, I said, "Don't ever walk by the back of that house again." I said, "There's something else there now, and I don't want you, you wouldn't survive it." It's exactly what I said to her. My daughter texts me today, "Would my car be safe at the end of our driveway?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, I want to go for a walk up the road," but she didn't want to walk past that brown dog that's still there. Okay, so we still have that issue. When you got a 19-year-old girl that's afraid to walk by a dog, I said, "Bring your pepper spray." I said, I'm pretty sure they got a pretty good control on him now. I think he's inside most of the time. If he's not inside, he's on a rope in the backyard. They know the fence is not going to hold the brown one. They know because they saw it come right out after me last fall. So my point is, my daughter, my neighbor, nobody should be afraid to walk by. Another person down the road from us, I'll leave his name out of it, was challenged by the brown dog jogging up the road last fall. So that dog that's there still is still a potential problem. When he gets out, he will be a challenger and he will be a biter. And he's not on his property protecting his property. He wants off his property as soon as he sees somebody. If I'm walking on my property, which overlooks theirs, if I'm out mowing the lawn, not mowing the lawn because I wouldn't hear it, but if I'm out just walking, he's like on his back porch looking right there, and he starts barking like crazy. He's just like, watch him. You know, where I'm going at it is gauging where I think determining the viciousness of a dog is going to be on the number of times he's been called to the police department or whatever. It's like, put a number on it. Second one, third aggressive act, you're done. First aggressive act, I want signage around the property, not two on the edge of his damn driveway, around the property, which lets your butters know, lets your joggers up the road, bike riders up the road know, hey, this dog bites, this dog's vicious, not beware a dog. I want something that shows them that, you know, this is a little different than beware of dog. Because people will beware of dog. I will not go on their property. It's their dog. It's their property. That's what he's doing. We expect that potentially of a dog. You know, I've been bit by a basset hound before. I've been bit by a chihuahua. You know, it's like anything's capable. It's a dog. It's whether you scare it or whether you don't. Whether it's feeling challenged or not. So I don't want to hold anybody necessarily accountable or liable, but certain dogs just no leeway. You can't give them leeway. The first incident that happens, something's got to be done, and you got to be able to have the ability to do something with it. Like you guys were saying, it's like having your hands tied because you got to follow these rules. Which during that board meeting I couldn't understand it. I'm like, why I was coming tonight was how do we change that? How do we change that and give you guys authority, give our police authority to walk in there and take control of it? And I agree with what you're saying. If that means, okay, if it was an aggressive bite that night or whatever, we're taking him 4 or 5 days. Yeah, you don't even have to be 15, 30 days. 4 or 5 days to figure out what the situation was, what caused it, so that it doesn't happen, and then let your animal control kind of evaluate the animal to find out if it's potential for that. You know, because going by what Mr. Haddock said, or actually what Ken said, you know, it gave you the signs. It gave everybody the signs. And I know you guys all know it, and I know you all felt it. You just did what you had to do legally wise. But it gave you the signs that it was not suitable, you know, for there. And unfortunately, you know, the owner lost her father with her dog. You know, for all we know, both mom and dad were saying, we need to get rid of this dog. This dog's not good. We don't know that, you know, or I don't know that. I'll say that, you know, but what do? Family is family, and you know, everybody tries to do what they can, and it's so unfortunate that it came to that for that man. But it is what it is. That's all I got.
Well, Tim, hold on one second. I want to tell you just one quick point, or 2 quick points, really. So, yes, the other incidents were reported for the brown dog, but like Mr. Haddock, somebody would have to bring forth the complaint for a hearing. So I don't believe there's any statute of limitation on that. So just so you know that the process of that,
Okay.
to bring forth a hearing for a reported bite. The second most important point is that there has never been a hearing on the brown dog. So any of the restrictions that we put in place on the other dog are not in effect anymore.
Good
So
to know.
the signage could be.
The signage has been taken down.
Yeah, other than the one on the porch. And I just wanted to tell you that, just so you know, for your awareness, when I drove by yesterday afternoon, the dog is being leashed on the front porch by itself.
Mhm.
When I drove by, there was nobody on the porch, and the dog appeared to be tethered because he was
Right.
sitting on the porch. But
Right.
so just those pieces of information to you
Good
to
to know.
have.
Good to know, because I'll reach out and talk to the other individuals that I know of, and we might be having this discussion again, just because we have to. Got to get it documented.
Very
Thank
good.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon Zukowski's first.
Sharon Zukowski?
Can you hear me? I'm going to stick to I just took some notes on what you're talking about. When you're notifying abutters, I would like you maybe to consider how close a vicious dog is near a school, you know, where kids are coming in and out. So maybe the school should be notified also. Just so that, and with the landlord thing, I think there's liability at the state level. I'm a landlord. I live in my 3-unit residence, so I don't have to accept comfort dogs, but I do have to accept assistant dogs, and I have absolutely no choice, and it scares the crap out of me. So I hope you're not going to be stricter on that, because landlords should check out if there's a vicious dog on the property and report it, but we can't have like a no dog policy for that sort of pets. And what was the other thing? I think you're giving dogs a lot of credit. If a dog bites a home invader, he's probably going to bite. He could easily bite someone from Meals on Wheels or a Girl Scout or somebody, a stranger in the home. So I worry about making that too loose. I mean, if a person was attacking someone, I get it. Like if a dog sees its owner being attacked, a dog's going to bite them. But if, you know, if someone's, I don't know, if someone's just on the property trespassing and gets attacked, that means they would attack the mailman or male person. And let's see, fourth, when you're considering costs, I saw that VLCT recommendation, and VLCT mostly, which the chair pointed out, mostly thinks about town liability. And, you know, people have been mauled and died. So I'm glad that the select board is considering that too. And I thank them for that, not just costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorraine Zaloom?
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button. Thank you, Chair. And a couple points. On the enforcement piece, Kendall, thank you for asking just to quantify that piece as well, because I have a feeling it's probably not as bad as the memo probably from VLCT seemed to be a little scary about. It'd be great to reach out to other municipalities that have stronger enforcement than our town, just to see if we can kind of figure out what that entails. Also, to me, we could also see a liability if we don't take care of something ahead of time too. So I'd like to know that piece as well. I have to say I was disappointed in the VLCT. I know they're a lobbying arm for certain the corporate interest of a municipality, but I would like to see them more balanced in terms of their presentation, in terms of the town responsibility to residents' safety as well, which is part of our town plan. So up front and center, it's why we have police, is because it's part of the responsibility. When I was listening to the other gentleman too, I like if there are police reports, can too. If there are a number of police reports, maybe there could be some kind of trigger with a cap on how many police reports in terms of being more proactive and saying, well, we need to investigate this more. I am disappointed to hear that the animal control officer did not see the dog before the hearing. I think that should be a requirement. In fact, I'm kind of surprised by that. That's too bad. That's a missed opportunity because I don't know how you weigh in without someone even seeing the dog and evaluating. Definitely abutters receive notice. I think that's fantastic. Signage in place. I think that's wonderful for people who walk down a public road. Love that suggestion. Also, I think there was a suggestion, I can't remember if it's in statute or not, that owners that incidents like this happen where the dog bit someone, I think they're not allowed to own another dog for a couple of years, or that's something that you could put in the ordinance. I think that's an important piece because the person has shown they don't know how to handle a dog or can't evaluate a dog well enough to protect people in the home. The other piece of the VLCT memo that I thought was interesting was the statistic that it said 70% or more of the bites are in the home itself. And my major concern about that is I would love to know of the 70% of those bites, how many of those homes have children that can't speak for themselves or have people that are disabled who can't speak for themselves. I think that's a very critical piece that's missing from the stat that the VLCT mentioned. And again, I'm disappointed in their lack of data that was involved. I think they could have helped quantify as well costs that are associated, or if they if they think that there's going to be added costs, why not try to quantify that? They are the ones that can pull that kind of data together, I think, much quicker than our town, and we pay for that that piece from them. So we'd love to see them do a little bit more work and be a little bit better about offering data. And then I think, let's see, on the intruder piece, which of course is also a very interesting piece, I thought in the state statute that it allows the dog to defend themselves, which of course is a gray area in terms of who's telling the story. So I think that if it was a home invasion, I would think that that would fall under defending itself if someone broke into your home. So I think that's a piece that we should look at, is if that is included in terms of covering that piece that a dog should be put down if they're defending the home or themselves. I think that that's in the statute. And also I hope someone from our town, because of this horrible incident that happened, reaches out to the state as well, because I believe our state is a one bite state for a dog rule. And I think we need to revisit that law. I think that's unfortunately, I think I put my own dog down because my dog tried to bite me. He did not bite me. He tried to bite me. Couldn't. I could tell he wanted to hurt me. And I had children in the home, and I had a very open home with a lot of other children coming in. It was not easy to make that decision. But I know what the liability and the risks were, and it was not worth having my dear boy at home in terms of harming someone. But unfortunately, emotions get in the way when you're an owner and you're very attached to a dog. It's a very difficult decision to make. And I think it would be beneficial to dog owners to be able to make that rule as tight as possible. And because I think that could alleviate some of the guilt of having to make that decision as well. And to Ms. Campbell, I just want to say how sorry I am for your loss. I think it was a horrible thing that happened and just really sad. And I hope that that your brother's death can help us prevent others. And I'm just really sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Fleming?
Hi, thank you. I am one of the other neighbors that Tim had mentioned, who had encounters with the other dog in the driveway. So this is potentially a little bit of a niche sort of angle, but I wanted to bring it up for when you're doing your research. To be clear, Tim may have mentioned this, but he was talking about our driveway sort of being in their backyard. To be clear, we both have a right of way across their property. So it sort of complicated the whole situation in our eyes a little bit in terms of what we were going to be able to accomplish, because we were on their property, but we also we had a right to be there. We were in our own driveway at the same time. So it's sort of, I'm not sure how many arrangements there are like that in the town, but it's something to just maybe be aware of as you're researching or as you're drafting the language you choose, to try to make sure that that kind of situation is covered. You know, I have no choice but to be on their property, right? There's nothing I can do besides be on their property. So to me, you know, the fact that my encounters had happened on the property, it was like, you know, okay, well, to me, it's public, right? Like I'm walking in my own driveway. So I just wanted to bring that up as something to be aware of. And then I think a few people have mentioned this, but just again, to be clear, maybe when you're thinking about looking at police reports, that it's police reports to the whole house, not just to that owner or that dog, because there's multiple owners on a property potentially, or multiple animals, as we know here. And then lastly, to be clear again, you said you don't think there's a statute of limitations to bring a complaint?
I don't believe so, but it's something I'd want confirmation on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Darlene Campbell Payne?
Hold on one sec, real quick for Greg. But the best situation for Ellen to do would be to contact the police department non-emergency line and speak with somebody?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what you recommend?
Yes.
Did you catch that, Ellen? Sorry.
I think she's asking about getting a hearing, not recording it. She's already recorded it. She was one of
Yes, thank you. I did call the non-emergency line at the time. I just didn't call for a hearing before the select board at the time.
So sorry, I misheard you. So Greg, where do we direct people to ask for a hearing?
Do you mind if I read from our ordinance?
Yeah.
Sure. So, hi, Ellen. I'm reading from Title 4, which is basically Chapter 4 of the town's ordinances. I can certainly reach out to you after and give you this language, but just for the folks here. After a dog bite has occurred, a person needs to file a written complaint with the select board for the town. It shall contain the time, date, and place of the attack, name and address of the victim or victims, and any other facts that may assist the legislative body in conducting its investigation. And then within 7 days from that receipt, the hearing needs to be held. So I'm not seeing any limitations on timing here, but we'll research that fully.
Okay. So I gave you bad advice. Greg would be the person to reach out to. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then Darlene Campbell Payne.
Hello, I'm Darlene Campbell Payne. I spoke earlier. I just want to go over how important I think once a dog bites a person, depending no matter the level, that dog is a dangerous, vicious dog. And at that point, as soon as that dog bites someone, I feel like it needs to be taken away and impounded at that point right away and then evaluated by a professional. Someone needs to, a professional needs to say what that dog can and cannot do. I mean, and while that dog is impounded, then you can determine if it's can be safely trained, if it's even can is capable of wearing a muzzle. Muzzle training takes weeks and weeks. You need to investigate the owner's history, the dog's history, the dog's living conditions. All of this needs to be investigated to make a good decision. And only after all that is done, that dog should have been euthanized and long before it was. And, if you think about it, if a person would have come running out of house with a knife in their hand to someone on the property and stabbed them, the police department would have been there immediately and taken that person into custody. And that's what should have happened with this dog. This dog should have been removed and taken, impounded immediately. And at that time, really, the owner forfeits all the rights to that dog. That they can't make the decision to put that dog down. You know, th- it's it needed to be held. It needed to be done by a professional, someone who just said this dog is not trainable. It needs to be put down, and it should have been put down immediately. To tell you the truth, after Dr. Haddock was attacked. I mean, I watched that meeting twice and that whole hearing, and I just cried. That it's terrible what my family's going through, what other families are going through, what the neighbors are going through. You need to get a handle on this. I don't know what else to say. It's just so tragic. I really hope that Steve's death will bring a closure to all of this and that some good will come out of this, that this would never, ever happen again. Uh, I thank you for listening, and I sure hope that okay, I have a question. Who determines the level of a bite on a dog? Who determines that? When a dog bites someone, okay, where does that person go to the hospital? Is someone at the hospital determine the level of that bite? Is there a police report made? Is that police report say the name of the dog, where the dog lives? You know, who does that? Who's responsible for doing that?
Hi, Darlene. This incident, excuse me, this incident that with the hearing was back in February. That was the first time that I remember seeing the dog bite level chart. I've lived through a few dog hearings in the past. It's the first time I recall seeing it. It was an animal behavioral specialist of some sort who provided that information to the select board in this case. I think if they're good questions for us to answer and look into as we draft potential changes to the ordinance to make sure somebody is qualified to make that assessment if that's the route we end up choosing to go.
hmm Well, in doing your investigation on the dog's owner and where the dog lives, I just have to tell you, um, I probably shouldn't say this online, but I don't care. My brother was at the stage diagnosed with dementia. My brother could not hear very well. Okay. My brother, when he walked, he shuffled. Now, I don't, that is, his home should have been his sanctuary. And unfortunately, with family situations the way it was, It didn't turn out to be like that. But with the dog that attacked and the dogs that are in that house now, something needs to be done with all of that. I just thank you for listening to me, and I surely hope that one of the first things on your list is when a dog bites any level of bite, it's impounded and analyzed immediately. That would be my request. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That is our goal, is that we would like to prevent this from ever happening again. Sarah Salentino.
Hi, everyone. I live on Brigham Hill Road. I have the nursery on Brigham Hill Road, and it's a very public place. And this is, while my heart goes out to the Campbell families, Steve and June used to come down and with their dogs and shop here. And Darlene, I'm so sorry. I did see the 3 police cars go screaming up last week at 3:15, and my first thought was like, oh no, I think it's something to do with the dog. But anyway, this isn't about bad dogs. This is about how does the town deal with good dogs who might be seen as bad dogs by someone else. For those of you who've come to my nursery, my dog Bungie is a barkaholic. I can't stop that. We've tried a 12-step program, but it isn't working. But anyway, she's very friendly. We have customers who come back not to buy plants, but to see Bungie. However, Bungie loves customers and cars coming in so much that she will run out towards the road. We do have an e-collar for her, but we do have a neighbor that has threatened to shoot her if she runs at him as he rides his ATV down the road across our parking lot. He's also said that he's going to shoot her if she goes onto his property, which she hasn't. Is there any protection? What is the rule about dogs going onto other people's property? Not that it happens at my place, but I'm afraid that we're going to lose our dog because of a misinterpreted of her personality. So, and I completely understand what has happened and why there needs to be rules and regulations. But when you have a friendly dog and its behavior is misinterpreted by a neighbor, does that neighbor have the right to shoot the dog? What do you know of any laws governing what my dog can do? Like I said, she does not go into the neighbor's property. His chickens have come onto my property, and I admit she killed one. She didn't understand. But anyway, as long as no one he doesn't come onto our property, she's very happy. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that and see if you had knew of any places that I could find laws about this. What are my rights and what are the neighbor's rights? Thank you. That's all I have to say.
I might offer that well, maybe Greg have some specific. I might offer that you talk with the police department and they could inform you of all the specific rules.
I was just gonna comment on the chicken, but if you look up the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, there's some regulations in there, and any animal harassing livestock, there's a right to protect the livestock. Also to note, Vermont Fish and Game, wildlife has the same protections, and you can also be fined, and if there's a point where a dog is harassing and or taking the life of wildlife, the owner can also be charged.
Are you all set? Moving on, Bill.
I just want to say that my dog is the chickens came onto our property, and I just need to know what happens when that happens. I wish.
You're protected. The livestock would be on its own property, because otherwise you would have, it's actually a state statute for all different animals, but it would be livestock at large on your property.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your comment.
Laws to look into too, but there is a law in the Vermont state statute. If you look up livestock, dogs, fence laws, all of that good stuff, this has been must been back in the day. It was the only thing going on in Vermont was the neighbor's dog and a chicken, because there's many different court cases that are referenced in a lot of the ordinances, and there's huge helpful. But I would start with agency agriculture, food and markets on the Vermont.gov, and then click into ordinances, and you'll find a lot about the difference in livestock and wildlife. And I don't believe that there's any statute that I'm aware of where somebody can shoot an unprovoked dog. I believe that there was a case in the Northeast Kingdom in the last 6 months, to refresh my memory, that there was a case where that had happened, and the finding was that the dog was just on the neighbor's property and there was no attack. So there's something to look into there too about precedent.
Thank you. I really appreciate your comment.
All set. Thank you. Bill Silverstrom.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. 36 Tanglewood Drive, been in Essex for over 20 years. I have 2 dogs myself. I've had dogs for over 40 years. And I've actually been bitten twice in my life, not by my dogs, but it's interesting because owning dogs, you kind of get a gauge of, you know, I hate to say if it's a good dog or a bad dog. It's usually not the dog most of the time. It's the owner and the owner's responsibility. I've always taken that upon myself as a dog owner, to have the responsibility to be the alpha and make sure that they're, you know, well behaved and paying attention and not doing things they shouldn't. But unfortunately, that's not the case with a lot of people out there. Even walking my dogs, I've had my dogs everywhere, not around town, but, you know, out hiking and whatnot. And what I've seen is that, you know, you can definitely have people that are caring for the dogs in a way that is not conducive to raising it so that it will not harm another individual. And it's unfortunate. And that happens on private property too. I was wondering, when we're looking at all this, first of all, did anyone look up the records? Were these dogs actually licensed with the town clerk's office to begin with, in addition to the vaccinations, even though this was unfortunately death resulting and not someone that was treated medically? Also, where are we drawing the line with when we're noticing something on a property as it being more of an abuse and neglect situation versus a situation of a dog that could potentially be harmful to someone coming by the property in this case? And then I will also mention something for Ken, and I don't think it's the answer he wants, but we actually as a family had a big easement issue over in New York State. We had lakefront easement, and our easement was an open easement, and it was to include everything and anything and any property of ours. And over 6 figures of going to court, we actually won that case because they didn't want our dogs on the beach, and our dogs would just look at them when they came down. They did not approach them. They did not go up to them. They would sit with us. So there are some people that, no matter what, are, you know, going to come after you for having a dog because you have a dog. So there's a lot to this. It's unfortunate that the situation went the way it did, but there are layers upon layers. I'd say 90% of the time or more, it falls on the owner. 10% of the time, it could be a dog that was taken in by an owner or one that was raised somewhere else that they took on. And you really need sometimes a miracle to turn them around. So, those are my points. And like I said, I've seen good and bad out there. And a lot of times the owner needs to have a little bit of common sense so that things like this don't happen. That's it.
Thank you for your comments.
Kendall, can we just respond about the licensing?
Go ahead.
Greg, can you just respond? I believe the dog was licensed. We required the dog to be licensed, and you checked the vaccinations. Is that correct?
Yeah, vaccinations were checked. It was licensed after the hearing. I think it had moved into town, so it was prior to the deadline for licensing, but it was licensed shortly after the hearing.
One of the first criteria of the things we came up with out of that hearing was that the dog had to be licensed within, I believe it was 48 hours or 24 hours after the hearing, which it was. And then I believe in the documentations we saw for that hearing, they did talk about the dog was, vaccinated, and obviously with the severity of the bites and stuff, that was a concern for just health matters.
All set?
I just wanted to give him the facts.
Okay, Lorraine Zaloom.
Thank you. I know I spoke before. I just want to mention, Ethan, I think that's a great idea for the homeowner to be present as well at the hearing. If it's a landlord, maybe the landlord's not even aware. And I know there's state statutes, certainly like Sharon mentioned, that some of their hands are tied. So it'd be great as well for hopefully someone from a select board or someone from staff to reach out to the state level to try to firm up the state statute, because I can't imagine that this isn't being talked about at the state level as well. And it's certainly an opportunity for us to revisit. My other concern too is that the size of a dog, to me, if the dog bites, it's a vicious dog. Defending or whatever, that aside, but if it doesn't matter the size, because certainly a small dog could rip a baby's face open. A number of us have different stories. I know a story of a friend whose child's face got ripped open, and it's not necessarily about the size of the dog, and I hope that's considered as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Cheryl Van Epps, Essex Town resident. I wrote a memo to the board, and I'll spare everyone most of it, but my son was bit in the face by our own dog, and I was wondering, the pediatricians, the vets are another one, but they should be involved in this. Like, how many of them have seen dog bite cases, and perhaps they could provide expert opinion on the dog's presence in the household. I figure it's a relationship between the owner and the dog. It could be, I know there are some breeds that are dangerous breeds, but it's actually the individual dog. I knew of some dogs from dangerous breeds which were absolute lovable, cuddle muffins, whatever. So it's almost a question of whether that dog is a good fit for that owner and that household. And things change over time. You have a baby, or dementia. Like the poor, I'm so sorry to hear the story, Charlene. I'm so sorry. Or Darlene, my apologies. So these things change over time. So I'm wondering, how can we have safety nets to help prevent this? I think maybe for me, having more training in understanding dog behavior, what's an aggressive behavior, like that little growl that she would give when my son came up to her, that could have been a sign for me to get that intervention at that point before the bite happened. So it's a question of where can we, how can we spread a wider safety net for these things not to happen. I'm also thinking, besides just the bite, we had walkers, we had joggers go by, and somebody down my street had a large pit bull that got free and jumped the elderly gentleman. No bites involved, but he jumped him. That was a potential for that fellow to fall, to number one, get a brain injury from the jump, depending on how hard he was tackled. So again, this is a behavior, maybe that's classified as aggressive. It's not vicious that he just jumped him, but so I'd be wary about the language used and whether it has to be a bite or it could be some other action that was could potentially kill a child or an elderly person or somebody who is disabled. So please take those things into consideration. It's sad that it comes to the point where we have to have an action happen and then a punishment be mandated. I hope we can figure out something to create a trigger so that an intervention can occur. Thank you. I appreciate all that. This is a lot. You know, so many different cases. I appreciate that you listen to the public and you hear our different perspectives and little things that can maybe make a better ordinance in the end. I'm hoping. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you for submitting the paperwork. That's very helpful. Any more? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. Irene Renner again. I'll be quick. I've learned a lot here tonight, and I'm glad I came. Let me get this straight. Immigration and Customs Enforcement could haul off 3 people of color from a South Burlington home without a warrant for any of them, and left their front door broken down. Does anyone fix that door? And 2 of them are still in custody. But a vicious dog cannot be taken away by the Essex police after a serious incident like this without a court order or without the family's permission. We have our work cut out for us. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Any more questions? I'll bring it back to the board. Are we all set with what we've asked the staff to
I think we've given them good marching orders.
to look at? That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very well, then we will move on to our agenda. Ethan?
Have we moved on?
We've moved on. Our next item is item C, consider approval of town manager's appointment of the cemetery commissioner Joe T. Garden.
I move that select board approve the town manager's appointment of Joe T. Garden to the cemetery commission for a term ending in March 31st, 2029.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? I would ask, is he in the audience?
He is not. I told him that he did not need to come.
Okay, then so moved. Then all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Welcome aboard. Or he's been here for a
He's
while.
been here for a while.
Yeah. I let him know.
Long
Thank
time.
you.
Okay.
Tell him thanks for his service.
Absolutely.
Our next item is item D, discussion and potential action about the town manager's annual performance evaluation. That will probably be an executive session. And then we have the new item 6C, which is also an executive session. Discuss pending or probable civil litigation. So that brings us to the reading file. Any comments on the reading file? Dennis?
I just wanted to thank the Parks and Rec for their work on the garden survey. I found it very interesting. Thanks to the member of the public that participated in that. I think we had almost 100 participants and some good ideas there. I'm also looking forward to talking our upcoming meetings about the select board schedule to try to best align it with the school vacations as well.
Any comments, Ethan? No?
No.
I would comment. Does staff have everything they need for the schedule? Because I'm interested in your opinion on the schedule.
For the select board schedule?
Yeah.
I think we have to wait till April 1st. Talk
I
to the
know,
new
but,
board.
I mean, there's still interest in moving it potentially because of the school, right?
Are we talking about moving the meeting day?
Oh,
and this is comment only. Sorry, I can't talk back to you.
What's that? No, I just wanted to get a feel if you're on board with that for school vacation.
I think we should bring it up at our first meeting in April.
Perfect. That's what I wanted. So, no, I don't have anything. It looks like everything is on. Oh, I would note, commend Dustin for his service on the DRB. Thank you for serving in that position. I know it was not an easy task. And at that point, do we have a motion for some executive session? Yes, Ethan.
Oh, right here. I move the select board enter into executive session to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A3 to include the town manager.
I second.
We have a second. Yeah. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Motion approved. Shannon?
I move the select board make the specific findings that general public knowledge of pending or probable civil litigation or prosecution to which the public body is or may be a party would place the town at a substantial disadvantage.
You have a motion, I have a second. You have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss pending or probable civil litigation or prosecution to which the public body is or may be a party pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1E to include the town manager and deputy town manager.
We have a motion. Ethan has a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
The aye motion has it.
I don't think we're coming back.
Yeah.
You may.
We may.
We may be coming back.
We may.
So.
That's so funny. You said that too. We jinxed
Okay.
it.
Welcome back. So I'm looking for a motion.
I didn't write it down.
I didn't either.
I move that the select board authorize the vice chair
If you want to go too, or
and the clerk,
Sure.
and or the clerk to present the town manager with his evaluation.
is there a second?
I second.
Okay, you got a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion has it. I assume that is the correct motion. we need.
That works. Yep.
So we'll
Ish.
schedule an appointment.
Tried.
And I'm pretty sure that Andy and Tracy did it a couple times, right?
I don't remember actually if it was just the chair or both, but either way it's fine.
Either way you want to do it, I did and or. So.
Yeah, so.
I'm comfortable with both. Yeah.
Okay. If you check and it was only ever one, well, there's no need to have it.
No, that's fine.
Great.
Okay, do I need a motion?
Can I just say something real quick? I just wanted to thank you, Greg, and your counterpart for handling the disturbance that we had earlier with the technical difficulties and stuff. I know it was stressful, and I know that our staff does a lot. Thanks for being quick on your feet to figure that out.
Thank you for your patience and the patience of the public, and I think we learned some new things about the steps we can take to make it hard for people to interrupt.
That's great.
Thank you,
And quite
Ken.
honestly,
Good catch.
getting rid of the chat might be good because a lot of times you just say, we don't use the chat, so
Right.
just negating it in general might be a good practice moving forward.
Great.
I'm done.
So that being said, Ethan,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
there's a motion to
I second.
adjourn. Non-debatable, second by Shannon. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
No one opposed. We are adjourned.
We did it.